This is Werewolf Lightning God for Season 4. If you had a chance to try this build in Season 3, you already know that it slaps, but let me set some expectation benchmarks for you so that you know what you're getting into. All the gameplay you're seeing right now is from a tier 96 Nightmare dungeon, and all of the gear I'm using is unoptimized and completely unmasterworked, so you can definitely push this build a lot further than I have. If you're someone who likes my content, don't forget to hit the like button and comment below. But with that out of the way, let's get to the build. Now, you guys probably already know that I do all my builds on mobalytics.gg. Make sure you guys click on the link under the video so that you can go to my written guide. I keep my written guides updated all season long, so it's a great way for you to go and check and see if there's any changes. Now, this is the Werewolf Lightning God. I do have another tab here for Human Lightning God, but I haven't updated it for this season yet. So if you're wanting the human version, just wait a little bit. Shapeshifting builds have historically been the better option, and because they added additional shapeshifting options in this season, I feel like we're a little bit better off if we go with Werewolf. For the skills, I went with Maul, Lightning Storm, Debilitating Roar, Poison Creeper, Ravens, and Wolves. The Poison Creeper, Ravens, and Wolves is purely there so that our Shepherds and our Stampede can scale our damage. Now, it's not really a bad idea to occasionally Poison Creeper so you can immobilize enemies, or use Ravens to increase your critical strike chance, but you'll basically never use Wolves. Maul is mostly here to give us an easy way to access our Bestial Rampage 50% damage multiplier, but if you ever run out of Spirit, this is also a great way to get your Spirit back. We go pretty hard into Digitrograde Gate, which is a passive that gives you movement speed when you're a werewolf. So don't be afraid to use Maul because that passive actually lasts a couple of seconds, and that's all we need to get the bonus damage from the Keystone passive. Now, Debilitating Roar is going to be our main defensive tool, and because we have Hunter Zenith, we're going to be able to use Debilitating Roar without getting a cooldown as long as we killed an enemy recently. So anytime you kill an enemy with Lightning Storm, don't be afraid to use Debilitating Roar. Not only is this going to reduce enemy damage by 70%, which is huge, but it can also help refresh that Bestial Rampage damage bonus. Not to mention we have a passive that reduces our damage by 15% when we use a defensive skill. Finally, what the entire build is built around, Lightning Storm. Because we're using Tempest Roar, Lightning Storm is a werewolf ability. That does several things for us, but it's mostly utility. It helps us poison enemies, which increases our damage against them. It reduces their damage to us. It allows us to get Spirit when we get critical strikes. And it opens up several other utility options. Now, when you use Lightning Storm, it's very important that you hold down the Lightning Storm for a couple of seconds until you see multiple lightning bolts, and then you start spam casting. You don't always have to spam cast, but it is going to increase your DPS. That does come at the cost of extra Spirit, though. For single targets, I like to go to the point that there's 3 lightning bolts and then I start spamming. But if it's a big group of enemies, you can hold it down until it's completely maxed out and then spam. For our Spirit Boons, we're going with Wariness, Iron Feather, Avian Wrath, Energize, and Masochistic. If you get your gear optimized to the point that you don't really need the energy as much, you can swap this over to Bolster just to make sure you keep your Fortify even easier. For our items, I'll start with the uniques first. We're going with Tempest Roar, Unsung Ascetics Wraps, and Hunter Zenith. You do have the possibility of going with Starless Sky if you get it, and at that point you have to consider if you're going to replace Hunter Zenith or Stampede. I personally would probably replace the Stampede, but it's unfortunate that we won't have our Tempers. For our other aspects, we're going with Vigorous Aspect, Juggernaut's Aspect, Aspect of Slaughter, Shepherd's Aspect, Aspect of Retaliation, and Aspect of Stampede. Like it says here, max out your resistances and get 9300 armor. But because we're using Juggernaut's Aspect, you probably won't have to worry about that. If you want to see the gear stats, you can click on this little tab here on Mobalytics. And I tried to give you a general idea of what you need, but each person's going to customize their build to their own needs. The main priorities is getting bonuses into Envenom, critical strike chance, and damage to distant enemies. Now keep in mind you're going to choose distant or close damage depending on your playstyle. I've found with Lightning Storm I end up killing enemies off screen a lot of times, so damage to distant enemies works well here. It also has a higher range, so you can get more of that multiplicative damage from Thunderstruck if you go damage to distant. For gems, I'm recommending Emerald in the weapon, Ruby in the armor, and Diamonds on the accessories. I also have additional notes and skill rotations down below if you want to read those. Now for the skill tree, we're going 1 point in Maul over to Wild Maul. We're going to max out Wild Impulses, we're going to max out Lightning Storm, and we're going to get Raging Lightning Storm. If you choose to go damage to distant enemies, you can go for Primal Lightning Storm, but if you do that, I recommend swapping some points around and also getting Electric Shock, and possibly even getting Natural Disaster, because all of those synergize really well. As I said before, we've got Digitrograde Gate maxed out. We've also got Iron Fur maxed out. Then we're going to max out Vigilance. We're going to get 1 point in Debilitating Roar, and we're going to go to Preserving Debilitating Roar. We're going to get 1 point in Wolves, 1 point in Poison Creeper, 1 point in Ravens, going to Brutal Ravens. We're going to max out Nature's Reach, and this is somewhere where you could pull points out if you're doing damage to close enemies instead. We're maxing out Elemental Exposure just to get a little bit extra vulnerable uptime. We're going to max out Envenom, and we're going to put 1 point in Toxic Claws. Then down by our ultimates, we're going to be maxing out Defiance, 1 point in Circle of Life, and maxing out Resonance. We're also going to max out Quick Shift and max out Heightened Senses. Finally, our last point is going into our Keystone passive, which is Bestial Rampage. For our Paragons, we're going to be starting with Keeper in the first board. Then we're going to move up. We're going to attach the Heightened Malice board, where we're going to put Earth and Sky. Then we're moving left, where we're going to attach the Thunderstruck board. And here we're going to be using Spirit. Then we're moving down, and we're attaching the Constricting Tendrils board. And here we're going to be putting Territorial. Moving to the left, we're going to put the Ancestral Guidance board. And here we're putting Fulminate. Then we're going to move left from here. We're going to attach the Lust for Carnage board. And here we're going with Werewolf Glyph. Finally, down to the right, we're going to be putting the Earth and Devastation board. And here we're going to be putting the Exploit Glyph. So I went back and forth and tested this build pretty thoroughly. And I'd say that this is probably my favorite setup. But there is one other alternative that I think I should mention here in case you guys like it more. And that setup is basically going Nature's Fury instead of Bestial Rampage. You drop the Maul and Poison Creeper, and you go Earthen Bulwark and Petrify. Then you're going to go Symbiotic on your boots. Oh, and don't forget Tybalt's Will for the pants. I hope you guys enjoy this build, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, feel free to tell me what builds you're most interested in seeing next. But on that note, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Daddy Druid out.